Democrats, Joe Camarota.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the people and voters for hosting this event, and Ms. Trout for being moderator. You've always done a great job. Look forward to a good evening. I also want to thank the audience tonight for coming out. Your participation is greatly needed and immensely appreciated. Thank you. Again, my name is Joe Camarota. I am married to my lovely wife Charlotte in the crowd out there. I also have 3 children, 4 lovely grandchildren. I've been a resident of South Brunswick Township for the last 22 years. For the last 7 of those years, I've had the privilege and honor of representing the good people of South Brunswick by serving on the Township Council. And last month, with great pride, Money Magazine named South Brunswick Township the 22nd best small town in the country. Something we're very proud of. I'm also a small business owner. My partner and I have been together for 38 years. We're currently based in East Brunswick, New Jersey. And throughout my adult life, I've been involved in many different civic organizations. I'm currently the president of the Board of Trustees of Women Aware, which is a group dedicated to the eradication of domestic violence. I also am a BMW auxiliary member, and one of my greatest loves, I'm still coaching. Now I'm coaching my grandson in traveling soccer. And actually, we won the state cup last year, so that was something we're very proud of. I bring up those different entities because municipalities, small businesses, and civic groups have allowed me to work with Trent in many different capacities. What I find is that Trent is broken. There's a real disconnect with Trent, and we need to change that. We need to change the culture of that. We need to send people to Trent that will focus on the middle class and real property tax relief. We need to create jobs, and we need to focus on ethics reform. Hopefully tonight we'll be able to discuss those issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've had the privilege over the last 6 years serving on the Affordable Housing Committee in South Brunswick. We've seen the different gyrations and formulas that were proposed by the Code of Affordable Housing, and quite frankly, they've gone from one extreme to the other. But it still remains the issue at hand is how do we create affordable housing? And it's even become even more egregious as Arlene's sitting there, and I know you've done a great job with Arlene, one of the best in the state. But what's happening now, and something we have to address, is that the current affordable housing industry in New Jersey has gotten to the point where the values of the homes are stipulated by the state. Now those values, with the recent decline in the market values, are very close. So you're looking at houses now with restrictions based on their affordable housing status that are very close to the open market and fair value homes. So that affordable housing used to have hundreds of thousands of people waiting for are now not selling because people rather buy affordable homes at the market rate. So that's a secondary issue that's happened. But what we have to do is this was not, even though the code was eliminated, it still was switched to a different department. We have to find ways to work with developers, public and private entities that will develop affordable homes for our residents in New Jersey. That is needed, and we will accomplish that. I absolutely support this program, and I think it's a good example of the bipartisan approach that the Assembly and Senate can take down the trend. That's very rare these days. This is something that open space we're very proud of in South Brunswick. We have a great track record of. We've acquired over 2,000 acres over the last decade. The money is there. There's a set formula for it, and that is the key thing here. There is funding available. It's not like we have to establish any new funding mechanisms to support this program. You know, if it acts like a duck, looks like a duck, it is a duck. And these areas that are flooding need to be leveled off and become open space. We can't keep continuing to reinvest in properties that are just going to have a flood, as Mr. Chiarelli just said, instead of every 100 years, maybe every 10 years, every 5 years. You react to the stimuli, you react to the situation, and you come up with solutions. This is a good solution to a problem that affects so many people and so many homes. I support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
As a Democrat,
vulnerable. This cut went after the most vulnerable, and that's a disgrace. Whenever you have a program that is funded with dollars locally, meaning the state of New Jersey, that the federal government will reimburse 9 to 1, does not make any sense whatsoever to cut a program that you will have 9 to 1. Why anybody would even vote for that is beyond my imagination. We need to focus on women's health because, as my running mate said, it affects the people that can't travel 2 counties over to get aid or help. That's the key, to make it accessible for the people that are most touched. And as a president, again, of a group that focuses on domestic violence, a woman can't go sometimes and get a bus to go from here 100 miles away to get help. That's wrong, and we need to service those people and be there for those people. And me and my running mates will be there, and we will send to Trent. Thank you. Mass transit is obviously the key. Again, we talked about this before. You got, close to 9 million people in this state. We don't need all those vehicles on a car, but we don't know this is one. We don't know those vehicles on the street. But what has happened is that our infrastructure is weakening. It is in repair, especially after the harsh winters that we've had, in recent history. How do we correct that? Well, there's only 2 ways that I know of. One is to raise the gasoline tax, which I will never support. So what else can we do? Well, there's things called public and private partnerships. Things, again, with my experience in municipal government and also in private business, we need to focus on those type of entities because people will and companies will invest in the infrastructure because it is a proven commodity. People are going to continue to be able to get from one place to the other in New Jersey. And we need to provide that. We need to make sure our bridges are safe, our roads are safe. That's critical because we do have, again, in South Brunswick where I live, we have 100,000 people go through Route 1 every day. We need to make sure that road maintains the highest degree of safety because the most important thing of any elected official is the safe health and welfare of every resident. And that's something we have to focus on. We have to find a way. We got to be creative. And that's what we will do when we're in Trent. Thank you. Trent. What comes to your mind when you think of Trent? What comes to my mind is disconnect, apathy, not getting the job done. Property tax. Look at that issue alone. We've been going back and forth on that every year. It's the same thing. Pension reform, health reform, all the same issues. Fortunately, we have moved in some of those areas, but not to the degree that we need to. Too many of our people that are down in Trenton today, and actually also in Washington, look at this as a job. They capitulate to their leaders and vote with blocks and platforms. We need people that have independent, bipartisan thought that will be able to go to Trenton and Washington and represent, that's the key word, represent their constituents by going out and talking to them, listening to them, and then going and voting based on what their needs are, not based on what you need to do to keep your job in Trenton or Washington. That's where I think the disconnect is. I'd like to see more independent, bipartisan thought down there and some action. I think that can be done. We just need to change that culture. Thank you.
Mr. Camarota.
Thank you. Once again, I want to thank the legal women voters. As usual, you've done a tremendous job. I want to thank the audience. Your questions were thought-provoking, stimulating, and some were actually fun. I want to thank my running mates. I also want to thank the professionalism of my opponents. You guys are gentlemen, and I thank you for that. There's one thing I want to leave with everybody's mind tonight is the concept of Trent, what we spoke about earlier. Because Trent is broken. There's a real disconnect. There's issues there that need to be corrected. And how do we correct them? Do we do it by sending someone down there because they have a certain political party attached to their name? Do we do it because once they get there, they committed to vote based on how they're told to vote? Or we do it because we know they need a job, so we'll send them down there to help them out. think we need to focus on what really this job is. We need to send people down there that will be able to walk in a room, again, check their ego at the door, and sit down in a bipartisan approach and come up with real solutions, even if that means that four-letter word, compromise. We have to do it. We have to represent the will of the people. We have to represent the middle class. Because what's happening is we're continuing to lose jobs. And if we lose jobs, we're going to lose the middle class. And if we lose the middle class, we're going to lose New Jersey. Jobs are a common denominator solution to most of our problems. That needs to be our focus. And hopefully, tonight, you've seen some of the differences that we have. And hopefully you'll see that we need to send people like Maureen, and myself down the trek. And hopefully we'll get your support in doing so on November 8th. Thank you, everyone.